I don't want to bring, as I was saying, to bring Dr. Beatrice Njenga into the conversation and also Ms. Martha Mohezi. And I would pose a question to the two of you, and one of you can take it or both of you can take it. And this is a question that came out of yesterday's conversation. And the question is, when we look at the role gender plays in our African culture, should we forget these roles in our desire for the Western models, or are these not part of the African culture that gives us the uniqueness that we desire in the Africa we want?
Are you asking me this question?
No, the question is to either Dr. Njenga or
Right.
Master Mohezi from FAWI.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, I missed the question.
Okay, sure. I will pose the question again. When we look at the role gender plays, so we're looking at our gender roles. And then in yesterday's conversation, there was talk about the African culture and the Western culture. So with that in mind, should we forget these roles in our desire for the Western models, or are these not part of the African culture that gives us the uniqueness we desire in the Africa we want? So you're looking at the Western culture, the African culture, and then the different roles that we have. Should we abandon either one in pursuit of the other?
I'd like to venture to suggest that culture is not something created. It's created by human beings as they respond to one another, they respond to the environment, they grow, because growth is also something that happens and changes the way people think and interact. And there may be things that we have done that, you know, that may have been explained at a certain point in time that one cannot explain anymore, are not relevant because of the changes that are happening. But then there are other things that were unfair and unjust from the beginning, and now that we are exposing them, we are able to address them and demand change. And equally with culture, you know, cultures engage one another, and people engage each other and should be able to learn from each other and pick and choose according to what suits people at a particular time, especially without being unjust to any group, and, you know, ensuring that everyone is valued equally as they ought to be. So it's not at this or that, you know, either or. It is what is, you know, good for us, what is suitable for us. When you look at Agenda 2063, it's very clear on where we want Africa to be. So what kind of, you know, interaction and relationships ought we to have with one another across the genders, with one another across the races, with our environment, and, you know, with the economy and all that.
Thank you, Dr. Njenga. Martha, do you want to add to that question?
Yeah, thank you, Rispa. And I'll just add to what Dr. Njenga has said. My view is not very different from her from her contribution. It's not about, if we are talking about the Africa we need, the Africa we want, it's not about choice of culture. There are so many factors in play. I will not say the African culture is bad and therefore it should be abandoned, and the Western culture is good and therefore it's what we take on. That is not what contributes to the Africa we want. The Africa we want is about equality, it's about equity, it's about giving equal opportunity to each and every person, irrespective of the gender, whether you're male, whether you're female, there must be that level of fairness. The African culture is rich. The African culture is very good, but not that everything in the African culture is the best. There are things, there are some cultural aspects that may not be really, they discriminate against women, if I can say so. And if there are aspects that are of a discriminatory nature, if there are aspects of unfairness, those are the cultures, those are the aspects that we need to address to make sure that there's equity. It's just like somebody will tell you about the Bible. The Bible is good. The Bible guides us. But there are certain aspects in the Bible that are questionable. And many people have looked into it. Interpretation, per se. What has been stated in the Bible may be good, but how do we interpret it? Do I interpret it because it suits my interest? Or do I interpret it because it's offering fairness to each and everybody? I think that is what I would say about that. It's not really about choice. It's about giving equal opportunity and fairness to each and every person. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, and then looking at our conversation today is around women of African descent, our challenges and opportunities. And I am reminded of, I went to a conference and this lady, I forget her name, but she was doing a study on the crab-barrel syndrome. So, and in her study, she was from the University of Texas, Dallas. And in her study, she indicated that in many, many cases, the people where you'll find the crab-barrel syndrome is in the immigrants, and also you find that with women. So I am going to put the immigrant aside and just focus on the women. So there's always, if you find a group of women together, there's always conversation around how we do not collaborate, how we do not support each other, how we always tear each other down. So we as women here today, how can we ensure that we are not suffering from the crab-barrel syndrome? And I'll post that question to either you, Dr. Njenga, Dr. Dove, or Martha, or anyone who wants to join in that conversation. And once we address that question, I would like to pass it on to Dr. Njenga. He has some questions that he would also like to pose.
Well, I think that, you know, there are these hierarchies amongst women that are grounded in race and culture that has defined the construct of race. So I think that these divisions are racialized in many senses, and that even if we bring class and gender in that, they've all been racialized too. So, you know, and that's what we have to look at, you know, that's what we have to deconstruct to see why women are not working together in support of each other, because they're from different groups of women who have different understandings and analyses about other women. You know, I can say that the hierarchy, or the racial hierarchy in the US is so that I am actually a privileged woman based on my color, you know, and we, you know, this is the reality. It's race, it's the construction of race. In the African community here, we call it colorism. But colorism is really racism that has been imbued by the people who are most suffering from racism. So we do it to ourselves, but it's because of the culture that dominates and imposes these these ways of thinking on our minds. You know, we're taught this every day, we see it every day, and those racial divisions will take a long time to go, but that's part of the teaching. It's part of the recognition. It's the ability to say, You know, I'm demonized because I'm a very dark-skinned person for no reason but some genetic crazy story that's going on about me. And I can say that I'm, you know, I'm prioritized in everything I do because I'm a light-skinned black woman who looks more European or who speaks with whatever it is. This race thing is deep within our consciousness at the moment because there's no getting away from it until we have the information that can challenge it. You know, it's a construction. You know, we talk about class as if, well, that's why we're all separate. But even if you break down class, it's racialized. In every supposed class group, the blackest skinned people are the most endangered, are at the bottom of these groups, whatever they are, gender, whatever. But the African idea of gender is not like the Western idea of gender. You know, so we don't even have similarities in the languages that we speak, in the understandings that we have of them. But it's not impossible. To me, it's very educational. And if people come together in groups, those type of discussions can take place, and the education, the information, the knowledge can develop. It's possible, especially if women or men, you know, wish to look at the depth of what is going on, you know. So I think it's educational and we can do it.
Thank you so much. Rispa?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Dav, and thank you, everybody. This is an exciting discussion, you know, bringing out issues that sometimes, you know, are swept under the table. Sometimes they're not so well understood, you know, and now we are together, people of African descent from the diaspora and from Africa. What ought we to do now? We have heard what we have heard. We have listened to each other. We are already proposing, you know, some of the things we should do. But I think now we should be a little more intentional and answer some framing questions so that when we meet again in a year's time, in 2 years, 3 years, we should be able to look back and say that because of meeting and engaging, this is what we were able to put together and to do that is beginning to make a difference for women and girls everywhere, and indeed, you know, for the nations in addressing the challenges of exclusion, marginalization, tokenism, injustices among ourselves or from others, improving our mutual accountability to each other on the continent and in the diaspora, as we have seen injustices against women know no borders. And then what are the opportunities for partnership, for enduring, establishing an enduring platform that will enable a continuing engagement, especially around Agenda 2063, the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, Science and Technology Strategy, Continental Free Trade Area, and all those instruments that Africa has developed for herself based on her vision. Because one of our biggest challenges is having partners engage with Africa based on their own priorities, their own vision, their own epistemologies, if it is in research, as if there's a vacuum, and there's no vacuum. How are we going to take advantage of this, of the fact that we do have frameworks around which we can coalesce and do what can make a difference? How are we going to make the difference we need? So we need to have now some proposals on how we will go forward from here. There's a hand up, although it's been up for a long time, and we really need we really need now to have some answers that will take us forward, answers that are going to begin to frame our engagement so that it's not just an academic exercise that we undertake once a year or once in 2 years, but that when we meet, we will be looking at what we have done, how we have done, and how we can improve circumstances for ourselves as women of African descent and
Hello.
impact ourselves. Yes.
Good morning, afternoon. I'll just say my name's Amina. I'm supposed to be your co-moderator from yesterday. And I had some trouble getting online this morning. You had trouble yesterday. I want to contribute to the discussion, if I may.
Yes, of course.
And that is to appreciate the conversation. I came in and heard part of it. But as an African professor who works and has worked just only for 10 years in the United States higher education system, I'd like to point to the long history of initiatives that we've already had, both within the continent and then linking continent and diaspora, so that we build on those. Because there are several networks in place and several such initiatives continuing the conversation. So maybe one place to start would be by sharing some of what have been the experiences. Some of them are very successful. Some of the scholarly exchanges are problematic. It would be nice to design one from a Pan-African perspective that addresses the challenges that arise. One of them you pointed to already, so I'm inviting other people at this point. What are the opportunities and what are the challenges within the existing programs that, for example, the Carnegie Diaspora program? There are a lot of programs that bring African Americans to Africa. It's still much harder for Africans, and do we want Africans to come here? How do we imagine the collaborations? Anyone can contribute to that, and I can give examples that have been tried as needed.
There's a hand up from Barbara Tete. Barbara Tete.
Hello. Yeah, this is Barbara. Well, that was early on, let me put it that way. I don't know whether it will still be relevant, but I wanted to ask the question about glass cliff and concrete sea. So I don't know whether I still relevant, that can be also be spoken about on this. And concrete healing for women in leadership at the top of education. How would that be broken?
Okay, I didn't get you clearly. No. My line was breaking. You're saying something about women at the top?
Yes, I mean, so women at the very top in leadership position in education. Women.
Yes, what about them?
Okay, so I was asking, so listening to, I came in late, and so listening to the conversation, I was asking, how would that be broken for women at the very top of the educational ladder?
Thank you. It's a question for all of us. What are the implications for you if you're one of those at the top? Because one of the challenges is that sometimes when a woman gets to the top, she forgets the constituency of women, especially when it's a male-dominated boardroom. What do we do to address this? I need help. Now we are talking about what we are going to do about it. We need now to demand something of ourselves. What shall we do to make the difference? Professor Amina has said there are some existing instruments that provide platforms that can help to make a difference, like enhancing opportunities for women to access higher education and to be exposed. One of my problems with some of the instruments is that they do not necessarily engage with the heart of Africa's set of priorities, Africa's agenda. They may be by Africans on people of African descent, but they are not engaging with Agenda 2063. They're not engaging with the continental, with what Africa is priorities.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Dr. Njega. So I was really going to look at the fact that this is a very nice discussion, and I'm really proud and happy to be part of this meeting. So I was going to talk about what we normally do in my own organization, because I happen to be the founder of an organization that is called Young African Leaders Forum. That is seeing how we can improve young people and youth around Africa. So what we do, we are strong proponents of the Agenda 2063 and then the African vision, because we like Dr. Njega had said, one problem with this kind of movement is that they tend to not balance themselves with African and Pan-African oriented visions. So what we do normally is that we have something that we call Send Betty to School project. And with that project, we have been able to improve, because we're a youth-led organization, we are empowering women, but younger women now, not the kind of empowering teenagers, women, girl children, as well as early age women as well. But through our girl children project that is called Send Betty to School, we've been able to send young people, young girls to school in places like Zambia and then Zimbabwe, where we had to finance their school fees, because normally in some African regions, children and girl children are really seen as second-class citizens. And because they are seen as second-class citizens, they really have not been given the same opportunity as the male counterpart. And so we've been able to improve the lives of many young girls by helping them sponsor their tuition, sponsor their books and the rest of them, and helping them get quality education and ensuring that this quality education is sustained, because sustainability is key for us. And so I think if we can continue to do something like this, it would build the women of tomorrow, because we're looking at the fact that what we are doing currently is for the girl children, and we may not really reap the fruits of what we are doing now as Africans. But I feel that if we are given a longer time, it would really bring a great impact on Africa. So that's the first project we did, and we are doing, and that's called Send Betty to School, and we are empowering young girls in Africa. The next project we are doing is our Women Empowerment Program.
Okay, thank you.
And the Women Empowerment Program is, should I continue? I don't know if I can continue.
Okay, yes, go on.
Okay, thank you. And the Women Empowerment Program is,
are you still speaking?
Yes.
Kindly round up so that we can hear the next person.
Okay.
Yes.
And the Women Empowerment Program is about empowering young women, early age women now, in entrepreneurship skills and the rest of them. So I think recently the African Union also launched an initiative that's called Salima Initiative. So I think with this kind of project, if we have organizations and synergies of organizations, I feel we can make a difference for Africa on the long run. And when we meet back in the next 1 or 2 years, we can have something tangible to present. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Rita, your hand was up. Are you ready now? So, okay. Tell us about some of the opportunities that we can perhaps seek to partner around, that reflect the aspirations of Africa concerning its women and concerning its development. You talked about the Carnegie project, but as we said, it has to engage with what the AAU and the African Union are doing for it to make a significant and responsive and more relevant difference, validating Africa and its own perspectives. Okay, RISPA, it looks like nobody's talking, but we are all still here. We are happy to listen.
We are actually out of time. We need to transition so the members can be able to attend other sessions. So with that said, let's just go ahead and do a quick, very quick wrap up with our speakers who are still on the call. So I'll start with you, Dr. Njenga, just one or two words, last words. Next, we'll go to Dr. Dove, Dr. Amina, and then Martha Mohevi, and then we conclude our session today. Just
okay. Allow me to go now, please.
Last word. Yeah. Go last? Okay. I'll come to you, then I'll go to Dr. Dove. Dr. Dove, just one quick last word.
Yes, sorry, I didn't know I was next, but thank you very much for listening. You know, it's great to be amongst beautiful women sharing ideas. I hope that we can meet again and share more of those ideas. I think Dr. Amina Mama already has a list of different organizations that are already existing, and we should look at those, and maybe we can be part of something ourselves, that includes all of us who are here, who might be interested in, ancient ways of being that have been modernized into something almost opposite from what they were intended for. Everything is here. Everything is in Africa. It's the birthplace. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Amina, last word as we conclude. Dr. Amina, please come off mute.
I am here. Am I unmuted? Have you empowered me with my voice?
You're good. You're good.
I said, I think we have a lot of knowledge exchange to do. How many people knew that the world's first university was built by an African woman?
I didn't know.
Fatima al-Fihri. I posted it on the chat in the year 679 AD. So I want to say, just as Lucy's real name was Dinakesh, the first human was an African woman, the first university was an African woman. We have legions of African women scholars, but we're busy lurking on the very margins of things. And I'm 62 years old. I want to say that for the last 35 years, I've done nothing but collaborate with African women. And actually, even with the African Association of African Universities, that I was saying, that Carnegie program is our initiative that we managed to insinuate in Carnegie when certain Africans took positions there, and that's how we got it. The idea was ours, we put it in an agency. And I've been listing some of the programs, but Fawe know this very well too. They've been involved even longer than the African Gender Institute, which was actually a teaching and research department as well. So we've had many associations for many years. I think we need to do more networking, and maybe this forum can help put together the existing experience so that we can come up with something new. I think we do have to repeat with every generation, because whatever we taught people just 10 years ago, we have to be teaching every year for the next generation. So it's endless work. And I think this has been a very useful meeting up, and we should build on existing connections and initiatives to develop more radical new ones. And I would like younger people to be in these conversations. Feminist Africa, we have a whole focus on the transgenerational, because that is sustainability. How do we train the next generation fast enough? And I don't mean technical training, I mean with the consciousness of ourselves as the oldest civilization, as the most talented community of people that is underutilized in the 21st century. Speaking from our vantage point is speaking from the margins of the margins, and it gives us vision. So I just want to thank everybody here today for sharing their vision, and I thank you for the space to not moderate very well due to our various technical problems, but to listen, to learn, and to be inspired. I hope everyone feels as inspired by our very presence as I do. Thank you very much, Rispa.
Thank you. Definitely inspired and looking forward to more interactions.
Sorry, message from Carol. I forgot, I was to introduce and to convey sincere apologies from Carol. That's Professor Carol Boyce Davis. I mentioned her yesterday. She was supposed to speak yesterday. It was the challenges of time travel. She mixed up the times, and today she had a class, but she sent a very warm solidarity message, and she's on board with all of these initiatives. I've been collaborating with her for 30 years. So more of it. And Carol sends warm regards, and she hopes definitely she's in these conversations. So greetings from Carol. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and we send our warmest regards back to her and looking forward to interacting with her in the future. Miss Martha, quick 1 minute last word. All right, I think she may have dropped. Dr. Njenga, your last word.
Yes, I'd like to begin by appreciating everybody, all these amazing and very clever women who have studied things that some of us, in spite of having lived for so long and worked in Africa for so long, we may not even have heard of, which of course is an issue, and it affects the way we interact to make sure that we really address the issues that we have been talking about in terms of challenges and marginalization. And then just to be true to myself, coming from the International Leadership University, where we are endeavoring to multiply leaders of integrity, we believe that this is something that needs to be supported because a leader of integrity, integrity includes ensuring space for all. Ensuring space for all, including women, children, and youth, so that every voice will be around the table, and every voice will influence what the policies and practices will be. And then the issue of mentoring the next generation of women demands that we ensure that all women and girls access quality, transformative, gender-responsive, and balanced education and mentoring from those who have made the journey. So those of us who have made the journey must take the responsibility to do something about reaching those who are left behind, so that, it's a jargon, it's a truism, nobody should be left behind. I mean, the same is true even concerning us and other women. Otherwise, we just develop another set of hierarchies that becomes even more painful in its exclusion of our own kind. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I want to say a big thank you to all our speakers, Dr. Dove, again, Dr. Njenga, Dr. Amina, Mama, Miss Martha Muhevi, our speakers from yesterday. We had Professor Jen Nana Opoku Agibang. We had Dr. Akosua Adomako Ampofo. We had also Dr. Kibuma Langimia. So thank you, a big thank you to all our speakers for taking the time to prepare for this session. Thank you for everybody who has worked behind the scenes to make this particular session a success, and for the messages that we have heard. And thank you to everybody who attended. Everybody can plan, but if we don't have the attendees, then we definitely have not planned a successful event. Looking forward to having further conversations. Please join us again tomorrow for the conclusion of the homecoming session. We will not have this particular session tomorrow, but the program still continues tomorrow. You can access the information on the diaspora.aau.org for information, and also immediately after the session, we have different business sessions that are going on. You can join Coaches of Influence, you can join FAWE, you can join the National Academic Diaspora Program for Ghana, and there are other organizations listed that are right now having different sessions about what they do, how they do it, and how we can participate in what they are doing. So with that said, I want to say again, thank you for joining. Have a good rest of the day, of your evening, and let's continue to collaborate. Let's continue to impact another woman. Let's continue to educate. Let's continue to make a difference. Have a good rest of your day. And again, thank you for joining. Bye-bye.